now would be a good time to take up your positions. New Forest High School, please welcome Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness. Prime Minister, if we could just have the children on the sidelines there, giving due regard to the ceremony that is starting right now. Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Member of Parliament for Manchester Southern, Mr. Robert Chin, Member of Parliament for Portland Eastern, not seeing her at the moment, Member of Parliament for Manchester North Western, Mr. Michael Phillips. The Mayor of Mandeville is being represented by Councillor Dalton Brown of the Alligator Pond Division. Custos Rotolorum for the Parish of Manchester, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Garfield Green, Deputy Superintendent of Police in charge of operations for the Police Division, Colin Johnson, Chairperson of the Manchester Central and Northwestern Adjudication Committees, Daniel Archer, Chairperson of the Manchester Northeastern Adjudication Committee, Ms. Micheline Latour, Chairperson of the Manchester Southern Adjudication Committee, Ms. Shelley-Ann Beckford-Loudon, Board Chairperson for New Forest High School, Mrs. Tricia Williams-Singh, Principal, New Forest High School, Mr. Arnaldo Allen, UDC General Manager, Mr. Bobby Honeygun, Senior Directors of the National Land Agency, title recipients, teachers and students of the New Forest High School, stakeholders of the Manchester communities, staff of the National Land Agency, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We want to welcome you in a very special way to the National Land Agency's NLA 3rd Systematic Land Registration Titling Ceremony. I'm Dervan Malcolm, and I'll be moderating today's proceedings. Oh, such an obedient and disciplined. This is the right place, the school. All that time I thought you were all seated. No, thank you very much. But I always like to get the protocols out of the way in as flourishing a manner as I can. You know, just so that everybody is recognized, and then we get into the program. So I got a bit carried away there. Sorry about that. And so it is indeed a privilege for me to celebrate once again with another set of 20 Jamaicans who, after today, will be able to confidently say that they are now official owners of a piece of Jamaica land we love. Each individual will receive his or her registered certificate of title for land that has been in open, undisputed, and undisturbed possession for 12 years or more under the NLA's Systematic Land Registration Program. In addition to the 20 titles being presented during this morning's handover ceremony, an additional 80 more will be distributed this afternoon. For those who are unaware, the National Land Agency's inaugural land titling ceremony under its Systematic Land Registration was first held in the Breadbasket Parish of St. Elizabeth on February 23, 2022. At that time, 30 residents received their certificates of title during the ceremony. The NLA continued apace with its efforts and distributed more than 1,000 titles under the Systematic Land Registration Program during the past year. We're now kickstarting 2023 in the island's youngest parish, Manchester, home of Jamaica's first premier, the Right Excellent Norman Washington Manley, and Maidstone, one of the first free villages to be established in Jamaica. The National Land Agency recognizes the importance of this momentous occasion and has made it possible for all Jamaicans, home and abroad, to share in today's proceedings. Today's ceremony is being live streamed in its entirety via the NLA's and the Jamaica Information Services JIS YouTube and Facebook pages. We also ask those online to spread the word so that more people can bear witness to the important work that is being done by the government of Jamaica through the NLA. We're also pleased to have with us today our public sector partner, the National Housing Trust, NHT, who will be here to offer information on their suite of products to the title recipients. We'll begin this morning's proceedings with the playing of the national anthem, after which we'll invite Pastor Delbert Brown from the Lidditz Seventh-day Adventist Church to open in prayer.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, Creator of the universe, Maker of heaven and earth, we ask that you will grace us now with your divine presence at this spot of ground. We want to give you thanks, O God, for your blessings upon us as a people, as a nation. We thank you for your great supervision. You are the great provider. You are our sustainer and our keeper. We want to thank you for your goodness and grace. Thank you for the people of this community. Ask that you will bless them in a marked way. I ask, O God, for your blessing upon this special program that is being hosted here today. We ask your blessing upon the leader of this noble country, the Honourable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of this country. I ask that you will continue to consecrate him and his dedicated team. May God, that this tremendous program will be replicated throughout many other communities. Bless the people today. May this day be a memorable day in their lives. And that, O God, they will be joyful and happy to know that they have become recipients of a very good program. O Lord, we ask that you will prepare the hearts of your people, for we look forward to a better country, wherein dwelleth righteousness, happiness, and gladness throughout eternity. Keep us all faithful. Help us to be true, recognizing that you are the sovereign God, the ruler over all. Bless us now and keep us. Continue to be with this program. May, O Lord, at the end of it, we will all rejoice and say it was good for us to be here. And here you come in the clouds of heaven. We ask that you will prepare us to meet you in glory, where we shall live and reign with you throughout the countless ages of eternity. May this be our experience, we pray, in Jesus' mighty name, and let the people say, Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Brown. The National Land Agency is spearheaded by an accomplished attorney at law, who we can confidently say is a repository of knowledge in the field of land conveyancing. With more than 20 years of experience in this field, and you can't tell by looking at her, her visionary perspective earned the opportunity to spearhead the agency's efforts to provide customers with excellent service in land titling and administration. Please join us in welcoming Ms. Cherise Walcott, Chief Executive Officer and Commissioner of Lands, to bring her remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is fine. To the Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation in charge of works, the Honourable C. Everett Warmington, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honourable Floyd Green, Member of Parliament for Manchester Southern, Mr. Robert Chin, Member of Parliament, Portland Eastern, Mrs. Anne-Marie Vaz. Member of Parliament for Manchester Northwestern, Mr. Mikhail Phillips. Representing the Councillor, Dalton Brown, Alligator Pond Division. Cursus Rotolorium for Manchester, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Garfield Green. Deputy Superintendent of Police in charge of operations, Mr. Colin Johnson. Chairperson of the Manchester Central and Northwestern Adjudication Committee, Ms. Danielle Archer. Chairperson of the Manchester Northeastern Adjudication Committee, Ms. Michaeline Latour. Chairperson of the Manchester Southern Adjudication Committee, Ms. Shelley-Ann Beckford-Luden. Board Chairperson, New Forest High School, Mrs. Tricia Williams Singh. Principal, New Forest High School, Mr. Arnaldo Allen. General Manager, UDC, Mr. Bobby Honnigan. CEO, Geoland Title Limited, Mr. Garfield White. Senior Directors of the National Land Agency. Title recipients, teachers and students of the New Forest High School, stakeholders of the Manchester communities, staff of the National Land Agency, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The National Land Agency is pleased to welcome you to our third land titling ceremony under the Systematic Land Registration Program on our first for 2023 in Manchester, Jamaica's youngest parish, known for its rich history and cool climate. I will use this opportunity to reflect on the remarkable progress that the agency has made under the program during the last year since we launched in 2021. In 2022, we hosted 2 land titling ceremonies in the parishes of St. Elizabeth and St. Catherine, and subsequently organized 5 distribution activities in those parishes. From this initiative, the team distributed 1,174 titles, 441 of which were distributed at our last activity in October last year. Furthermore, as of January 31st, 2023, we have issued 7,169 certificates of title under the Systematic Registration Program. In addition to this, yes, pause for, it has been a tremendous time for us. Thank you. In addition to this ceremony, more distribution activities will be organized to issue these titles to the recipients who've been waiting quite a while for their titles. I'm sure that we can all attest that our aim to revolutionize Jamaica's land titling system is indeed bearing fine fruit. In 2023, the NLA is renewing its commitment to improving the standard of living of citizens and their families through the SLR program, as well as other programs we undertake to ensure persons are able to secure their property rights. An integral aspect of this renewed commitment is to improve communication with the public on land matters. The aim is to reinforce the agency as the main authority of sound land-related advice and information, and to reduce incidences of fraudulent land transactions across the island. As such, I'm pleased to announce that the NLA will be undertaking a robust communication campaign to sensitize all Jamaicans on the procedures in obtaining registered title, the process to undertake when buying and selling land, and what to do when subdividing your property, among other related matters. So be on the lookout for us as we traverse the country. We'll also continue apace with the implementation of the Systematic Land Registration Program. As previously mentioned, we have distribution activities across the island, and we will be having new and better programs as we establish new partnerships to strengthen the existing framework. With that being said, I take this opportunity to acknowledge our long-standing partner, Geoland Title Limited, who has been with us from the genesis of this program. I also acknowledge the National Housing Trust, who are here with us today, who have also joined us to engage beneficiaries of this program on its array of products and services. Now that you have a title, NHT has the mortgage. I am also extending heartfelt appreciation to our community partners, the small business operators and the churches who are receptive, accommodating, and helpful by allowing our officers to display the adjudication records and host our adjudication committee hearings at their establishment. Furthermore, the work of our island-wide adjudication committees have been integral to our work in the adjudication process and the continued success of this program. For those who are unaware, an adjudication committee is comprised of individuals with specialized skills and knowledge who deliberate on the rights and interests of persons relating to land within the area declared under the Registration of Titles, Cadastral Mapping and Tenure Clarification Special Provisions Act, or as we more commonly call it, the SPA. The committee adjudicates land tenure issues arising from ad hoc registration and the systemic land registration process, and issues an adjudication certificate as conclusive proof of ownership. I would like to especially acknowledge Ms. Danielle Archer, Chairperson of the Manchester Central and Northwestern Adjudication Committees, Ms. Michaeline Latour, Chairperson of the Manchester Northeastern Adjudication Committee, and Ms. Shelley-Ann Beckford-Luden, chairperson of the Manchester Southern Education Committee, for their work in this regard. The combined efforts of all these stakeholders have led to the successful preparation and issuance of title to the residents at today's ceremony. Lastly, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our field officers from the NLA who have worked assiduously to gather information from the residents in the declared areas. They have traversed the length and breadth of these parishes and have unreservedly supported the implementation of the program. This is an indication that a strong level of commitment to serve and to nation building exists at the heart of this program. The NLA will continue to support the government's thrust of ensuring that citizens' rights to land ownership are protected by making continuous improvements to our service delivery standards, introducing innovative products to enhance citizens' access to our service, increasing revenue generation, as well as strengthening capacity building initiatives so that our staff can provide high-quality service to our customers. We'll be able to ensure that our citizens can live prosperous lives by guaranteeing security of land tenure. The NLA again welcomes you all today to today's systematic land registration titling ceremony. We're excited and equally as optimistic that the prospects of playing our role in building the inclusive, resilient, and sustainable communities that will propel economic and social progress for Jamaica well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walcott, for giving us just a snapshot of the work accomplished under the SLR program over the past year and the agency's plans for the upcoming fiscal year. I'm sure that you're just as excited as we all are to see those plans coming to fruition. Our next speaker is Ms. Shalice Porteous, Senior Director of the agency's Adjudication Services. Ms. Porteous boasts more than 20 years of experience in the field of conveyancing and has considerable knowledge of the legal and regulatory framework for land administration and the operational aspects of land registration and titling. At this time, we will now invite Ms. Porteous to provide an overview of the Systematic Land Registration Program.
Prime Minister, ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to adopt the protocol that has already been established by the moderator. Good morning. Land is a productive resource that provides a significant degree of socioeconomic security and stability. The National Land Agency's Systematic Land Registration Program has helped to increase socioeconomic security and stability by affording persons the opportunity to acquire land. This land titling initiative assists persons to become legal owners of land that they have been in open, undisturbed, and undisputed possession of for 12 years or more, with the process reaching its zenith upon the issuance of a certificate of title. The National Land Agency has been mandated to issue 20,000 certificates of title in 3 years, 12,000 of which must be via the Systematic Land Registration Program. The Systematic Land Registration Program commenced in January 2021, and over 16,000 parcels of land have been investigated, and rights and interests in over 8,000 parcels of land in the parishes of St. Elizabeth, St. Catherine, and Manchester have been adjudicated. As of January 31st, 2023, 7,169 adjudication certificates have been issued, which will yield an identical number of certificates of title. Ladies and gentlemen, no other land titling program to date has resulted in the mass registration of parcels of land in such a short period of time, and the National Land Agency is currently on track to meet its 12,000 target. Manchester was the third parish selected for the Systematic Land Registration Program, and we're pleased to be here for our third land titling ceremony. The systematic land registration process commenced in Manchester in January 2022, and the team from the Adjudication Services Division adjudicated rights and interests in lands in several communities, including Downs, Epsom Downs, Sea Ear, Bladespen, and New Forest. These investigations were extensive and comprehensive in nature. Cadastral maps surveyed by Geoland Title Limited were used to identify parcels of land in the systematic adjudication areas, and thereafter, the team conducted house-to-house visits in these communities in order to interview persons claiming an interest in land. The team also engaged community members to verify the information gathered from the interviews with the landowners. Once our team collated the relevant information in the designated systematic adjudication area, the information was then processed in accordance with the amendments to the Special Provisions Act and the relevant documentation prepared for the issuance of a certificate of title by the Titles Office. The display of an adjudication record then followed, and the adjudication record is a document listing the names of all persons claiming an interest in land on the cadastral map of the systematic adjudication area. The adjudication record was then displayed for 30 days throughout the communities, usually at shops, gas stations, and restaurants, and it was also posted on the NLA's website. This process allowed persons to peruse the adjudication record and to submit an objection where they claim to have an interest in a parcel of land on the adjudication record. If an objector came forward, they would have to complete an objection to the adjudication record application form and submit that document to me, the Senior Director, Adjudication Services, within 30 days of the display of the adjudication record. I would then refer the objection to an adjudication committee for them to make a determination in favor of the applicant or the objector, and then issue an adjudication certificate as conclusive proof of ownership. Thereafter, the adjudication certificate would be lodged at the Titles Office and a certificate of title issued. Now, if there is no objection to the adjudication record, I would issue the adjudication certificates, which were then lodged at the Titles Office and the certificates of title issued in the names of the landowners. I hope that what I've outlined so far gives you a better understanding of what the systematic land registration process entails, because we want persons to understand that the process is not an arbitrary one, and the National Land Agency is doing its due diligence. We will be continuing our land titling efforts in over 40 communities in Manchester, including Harmons, St. Tullys, Carter, Cheapside, Cocoa Walk, Dobson, Frankfield, Good Hope, and Greenvale. And we anticipate that an additional 3,600 adjudication certificates will be issued from parcels of land in those communities. To the residents who are receiving their certificates of title today, you are proof that the systematic land registration program works. The program will be further expanded to other parishes across Jamaica with low rates of land registration, and a full list of the systematic adjudication areas can be found on the NLA's website. I charge you, our title recipients here today, and even those who are unable to join us, to become ambassadors for the systematic land registration program. Encourage your friends and family, locally and abroad, to participate and get their lands registered, as the NLA plus you equal title for you. Thank you.
Just a moment, Ms. Porteous, before you go. What's the value of land in Cheapside?
The unimproved value? So the unimproved value for land in Cheapside may be up to $2 million.
Is that cheap?
Unimproved value.
Never mind, I'm just being troublesome. Thank you very much, Ms. Porteous, for that comprehensive explanation of the Systematic Land Registration Program. It certainly helped to put things into perspective and ultimately deepen our appreciation for the efforts extended to make this ceremony possible today. Now, our next speaker is Custos Rotolorum of Manchester, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Garfield Green, a Justice of the Peace who was installed as the Custos for the parish on June 24, 2019. As the parish's first citizen, the Custos in 2021 launched the Beliefs, Values and Attitudes BVA initiative geared towards facilitating attitudinal change and social revitalization. Through this initiative, Custos Green and his team have put many families, youths, and schools in Manchester on the trajectory to development and prosperity. As a community stalwart and businessman, the Custos believes that collaboration and cooperation with key stakeholders through the BVA initiative will have a positive influence on the values and attitudes of Manchester natives, encourage individuals to embrace and be guided by high standards, and engender a sense of self-assurance and patriotism. Please join us in welcoming Custos of the parish of Manchester, Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Garfield Green, to bring greetings.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolm, and thank you for the introduction. The Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mr. Robert Chin, Member of Parliament for Manchester Southern, and other members of the Political Directorate, our pastor who opened in prayer, Ms. Cherise Walcott, CEO, Commission of Lands, Ms. Shalise Porteous, Senior Director, Adjudication Services Division, Mr. Arnaldo Allen, Principal, and his team here at this growing school, members of the security forces, members of the media, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. I listened to Mr. Malcolm in his opening remarks saying that this third session is taking place in the youngest parish, and he pointed at some distinguished persons from this parish, but one thing he never said is that you are in the best parish of Jamaica. So let me welcome all of you to the best parish. And I'm sure when the Prime Minister was leaving Kingston, he said, boy, I'm going up to the best parish. Welcome. I deem this a pleasure and an honor to be here to participate in this special land titling ceremony. And I'm particularly delighted because of the purpose of this occasion. The NLA is a repository of information regarding land matters. And I'm encouraging all of us to make use of this opportunity to benefit from those replete with the information to safeguard our investments. It has been reported that since December 2022, quite a number of systematic adjudication areas were established, and that goes to show how committed the National Land Agency are to helping us. And they are committing to issue 20,000 titles within 3 years. That is remarkable, and they deserve a round of applause for that. Let me commend those who have professionally conducted their interviews to establish each of you being here this morning, your rights as landowners having met the criteria. The possession of a registered certificate of title means much to any law-abiding citizens of this country. This document can be used as a part of the process to assist in applying for a mortgage or to seek a loan to assist your child or children entering tertiary institution, and other loans to assist in settling your financial obligations. Educating our children adds growth to the economy by allowing them to be worthwhile citizens. Another aspect, ladies and gentlemen, of growth is that having a title facilitates the ease if you should consider transferring your title. Being here today as recipients, let me congratulate you on this milestone. Over the years, from time to time, there have been issues surrounding the acquisition of lands and determine who is a rightful owner. Just about 2 weeks ago, someone who left the UK to bury his mother died at the hands, allegedly, at the hands of one of his siblings. And it is believed that it is over the dispute of deadlift, or what some of us, I grew up calling it legacy. Yes? And I can remember about 2 years ago, a young lady was murdered in the full view of her 10-year-old daughter, organized by one of her sisters, again over land matters. We must make use of the opportunities that we have to settle our disputes, to claim who is the right owner. And you who are now owners of the land need to understand and follow the procedures. And one of the main things, to establish a will so that your property is shared properly and who must get what. It is very important that we put things in place to safeguard what is considered a major, major investment. It is not worth it to take lives just to own a piece of property. And in the quest of owning the property, we hurt others. A brother is now being prepared to be buried while his brother is in lockup. That's not good. That's not good, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm encouraging you, and I'm going to use this opportunity, this platform, to promote the alternative dispute resolution out of the Ministry of Justice. It is an initiative by the Minister of Justice to help all of us to resolve our differences, our disputes peacefully, amicably, without physical confrontations. There is no need for us to hurt others because we grudge them for something, ladies and gentlemen. We can peacefully settle our differences if we follow some established guidelines. And I can say these persons who are involved in those things, yes, you can say they're wicked. Yes, their heart may be hard. Their heart may be hard. But I would say they were misguided. Let us not fall in that trap. Through the Systematic Land Registration Program, if you're once numbered in that category, you are now exempted. I also commend highly our Prime Minister for the ongoing and sometimes tedious task being undertaken in making it possible for us to become legal landowners. I thank you for recognizing that, sir. It is important for us to own a piece of Jamaica, own a piece of this rock. And it is considered one of the greatest investments that we can make. So, ladies and gentlemen, the NLA plus you equal land for you. Protect it, and thank you very much.
I was just standing there thinking there's something special about this region. You seem to experience all the seasons: summer, winter, spring, autumn, all in one. Goodness, that's quite something. Is it unusual for all of that to happen at the same time? It happens here a lot, doesn't it? Yes, that's what I'm saying. We should take the information maybe to the Guinness Book of Records or something like that. Anyway, seriously, this is nice. Beautiful weather, isn't it? Very nice. Thank you very much, Custis Green, for those words. And please allow me to formally express gratitude to you in advance on behalf of the agency for supporting this program. Our next speaker is Member of Parliament for the great constituency of South Manchester. I was told to say that. Mr. Robert Chin. Mr. Chin is serving his first term as Member of Parliament and previously served as a Vice President and Deputy General Secretary of Generation 2000. Will now hand over to the Member of Parliament for his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolm. I've not seen you since I left Calabar in 1989, and you have not aged one bit. Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Ms. Walcott of the National Land Agency, Michael Phillips, Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, members of the adjudication committees. I see Mr. Brown, Dalton Brown, representing the Mayor, Councillor Brown, welcome. I see Martin Gill, Councillor Caretaker for the Alligator Pond Division. Oh yes, Bobby Honeygan, Chairman of the UDC, members of the security forces, members of the media, good morning and welcome to the parish of Manchester, and in particular, the New Forest High School in the constituency of South Manchester. I must first say that the programs of the Prime Minister are perfectly aligned with my objectives. Getting houses created and getting persons to have titles for their land. It is two activities that give pride, and people are proud when they actually own a house or they actually have a title for that place that they rest. The land is a fixed commodity, as we all know, and with that comes with problems. And Costas mentioned a few of those problems. And if we study history, we'll realize that wars throughout history have been fought because of land. Families in Jamaica, they're in conflict because of land. And the use of land in this constituency, I'm very concerned, because we have hectares and hectares of land that are in the main underutilized. And some of it can be attributed to our bauxite operation. And when the bauxite companies leave these lands, they leave some pits, right? And the use of that box or mined out land is very limited. So we have some challenges, and I hope that the land agency can address some of these challenges. I was speaking earlier about the LAMP program. And when I have more than 3 persons complaining about the LAMP program, we have a problem. We have a problem. And I hope that the land agency will come and consume some of those problems so that we can resolve them. This is a good program, and I fully endorse it. And these title recipients, I'm sure that they can sleep better tonight, knowing that they have titles to those lands that they're occupying. So my remarks are brief. I'd just like to congratulate the land agency and the team for the extraordinary work that they have been doing. And I understand there's more to come. And if we watch the media space, I'm sure that we'll all be excited to know the kind of work that the land agency will be carrying out. So again, welcome. Do enjoy yourselves, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chin. We appreciate your presentation, and we definitely look forward to your contribution and support for the Systematic Land Registration Program, as well as seeing what more you have in store for this constituency. It is time for a break in the program, and we're going to get some help in that regard from the New Forest High School Choir. Let's hear it for New Forest High School Choir.
Check.
So mixy, Bagwan. Did I say me I go up a New Forest High School? Yeah. All right. Yeah, later.
But see ya, then no systematic that. Systematic we are going so early. And Kuya, she dressed like a post back foot. Systematic, you're looking spendilious this morning.
Oh, thank you.
You can't let me find a little secret.
He's a real gentleman. I just can't wait to see him.
So what you say? You find your boyfriend?
Mother glad if I'm a boyfriend. But me gonna tell you a little secret. Anyways, me not gonna tolerate the foolish, you know. Me I go take a taxi for go up to school later.
Seriously? What you say? The Most Honourable Andrew Holness is coming to New Forest School for true? Come give you a land cycle? Me a go up ready, cause me want to know if my name is on the list for true. Hey, hey! Boy!
Good morning from the studio of TVJ. I am Kimisha Lewinson. I'm here at the New Forest High School, and as you can see, it is not an ordinary day here. Everyone is busy setting up rehearsing for the grand arrival. Let me see if I can get close and have a talk with someone.
Watch ya! They not TVJ that. Let me get a little closer and see if we can go up on TV. Uno come.
Good morning, miss. Can you explain what is taking
Watch
place?
it. Hi, mommy. Hi, daddy. Uno good?
Can you explain what is taking place?
Well, me here so the Most Honourable Andrew Holness is coming up here to give out land cycle. So I'm here to see if my mother's name is on the list. We are here to see if our mother's name is on the list.
Okay, miss. Hope your wish come true.
Bye, mommy. Bye, daddy. You know, some love.
I am Kimisha Lewins reporting live at the New Forest High School for TVJ.
Then I just the so-so welcome song we do for the Prime Minister. Why don't we show him how versatile, talented, and culturally aware we are here at New Forest High School? Come make we do the quadrille for him.
Sorry for the delay. I was just backstage rehearsing my steps. People don't believe me when I tell them that I used to dance, you know. I have the tape to prove it. Yes, I do. The first season of dance, Stella Maris Dance Ensemble. The production was entitled Children of Sisyphus, based on the book by Patterson. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, those were the good old days. But I'm sure you'll all agree that was a most delightful presentation from the students here at New Forest High School. Come on, let's hear it for them one more time. It's time for us to hear from our keynote speaker, an insightful leader who can effectively leverage the strengths and abilities of his team to realize the vision of shared prosperity for all Jamaicans through inclusive economic growth and meaningful job creation. To do this, the government, under his leadership, has prioritized ownership of property for all Jamaicans, and that ownership of such property is done in a legal, transparent, fair, and accessible manner. He's committed to building on the initiatives undertaken over the years to ensure that more people can own land and possess documentary proof of that ownership in the form of registered certificates of title. This, he believes, can empower each citizen who is given that opportunity with a renewed sense of ownership and pride in Jamaica. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, specially invited guests, boys and girls, please welcome Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness.
Yes, the adjustment in height was necessary. Please, thank you, everyone. First, let me begin by saying how proud and pleased I am of the New Forest High School. I will use their own words to describe them. The school is a place where the culture is friendly, the environment is healthy, they are versatile, talented, and culturally aware. You agree with that? Commendations are therefore in order to the principal and her teachers and her ancillary staff, and to the apparently very cooperative parents, and indeed, how could I make such an error? Commendations to the principal and his staff and teachers. And of course, to the children themselves. You could see the confidence on their faces as they executed their various performances. The quadrille is not one of those traditional dances that we see practiced anymore. It is indeed from an era long past in the early 19th century, but it still survives. It is performed at cultural events, and I thought that they did it a great justice in their performance. We are at school today, so the register is already taken. I do not need to call out any names. Approximately 40% of the lands within the island of Jamaica are unregistered. What this means is that many persons who may be occupying land legitimately or with the intention of legitimizing their occupancy do not have a certificate of title evidencing ownership of their property. How do we know that 40% of the lands are unregistered? There must be some measure by which we have an idea of the number of parcels of land. Yes, we do have a measure, and I'm told that that measure is the tax roll, the valuation roll for tax purposes. There is sometimes a confusion operating in the minds of Jamaicans that if you're paying property tax, then you are likely or could be the owner of the land. Two separate things, paying the taxes for the land versus having a title that says you are the owner of the land. And that, of course, has been part of the chaos in land settlement and land administration in Jamaica. So, a long time ago, under the colonial era, the emphasis may have been on collecting the taxes. So, more policy effort would have been to have the lands properly on the valuation roll for tax purposes. But as we progress out of that era to our independence, into the modern era of Jamaica, we want all Jamaicans to be able to show proof of ownership of their land. So the remaining 40% of lands, which we estimate to be about 350,000 parcels of land, we want to have those registered. So this informality, and I don't want to speak too much about the culture of informality in the country, but at some point in time we're going to have to address this culture of informality. But this informality prevents legitimate owners from using the value of their land for the benefit of themselves and their families and as a tool of wealth creation. And I want to pause a little bit here to explain that statement. So there are persons, they're living on the land, they've been living there unmolested, it is probably handed down from generation to generation. They are farming the land, they are subsisting on the land, they have put structures on the land. But that in itself is just half of the way to unlocking the value of the land. The true value of the land comes not just from you putting the house on it, not just from you farming it, not just from you saying, well, it's in my family for how long and nobody has contested it. But if you want to go a step further in creating wealth and value out of the land, you need to have the state, that is the government's backing of the land, to say you own it, and therefore you can claim the value of it if you wanted to sell it. But more than that, if you wanted to leverage it, meaning to put it up as collateral, to get more capital to create greater wealth, maybe to send your children to school, maybe to start a new business. So not having a title really stops you from going to the other step of wealth creation, to the other step of moving out of poverty. And therefore, it is this government's solemn responsibility and duty, and indeed our passion, to break this informality which has kept people poor, to help you with the assets that you have, to unlock the value in it so that we can achieve prosperity. The greatest trick that has been played on us as Jamaicans is to say that we must stick to the informality, hide away from the state. Don't let the government know what you have, because the government is, certainly in the colonial times, viewed as a predatory kind of government, not acting on your behalf. And it has remained in our psyche for not just land, but for everything else that we do. Don't want to get the appropriate license, don't want to register to get things done, don't want to be identified. That is the greatest trick that has been played on us. And we want to change that in our country. We want to change that psyche of informality. Informality breeds disorder. It creates a space in which only the strong can survive. Only those who are willing to use deceptive and deceitful tactics will survive. If you want a space that is fair for everyone, that the vulnerable, the weak, the strong has a fair chance of survival, then you need to have a formal system. Because a formal system is also a transparent system. An informal system, you don't know what is going on. Is who know who get through. A formal system is open and transparent. And if there is a dispute, there is a process to resolve it. My friend, the Custos, pointed out disputes that have taken place over land, for which lives have been taken. Many of those disputes were because the land issues were not settled. Possibly the lands were not titled, and the lands were contested, and people are trying to claim ownership. When you get your land registered in a formal system, it is like your seatbelt. Nobody can come and throw you off of your land. It anchors you there. Once your name appears on that title and the government back it and say, yes, you are the owner, nobody can change that. And we are now seeking to make that system of formal registration even stronger, even more fraud-proof, to ensure that when you do get your title, nobody can fraud you out of your property. So I encourage all Jamaicans who are part of that 350,000 parcels of land, which are now not registered for title. You might be paying your property tax, but you are not titled, to take advantage of this process and get your lands registered. We have two processes going now. I'm certain that Cherise explained it, and Ms. Portius explained it. The government has the ad hoc registration under the LAMP program in partnership with GeoLand. And under the ad hoc process, persons who have lands that are not registered, they can come in to the LAMP offices or the NLA island-wide and apply for their lands to be registered. So you can take the initiative. The government supports that process by providing some form of subsidy, some form of credit, and provides the mechanisms to do the surveys and so forth to get the land properly registered. and you get access to an adjudication process. Sometimes there might be a little dispute as to whether the land extends past the cotton tree or it stops at the cotton tree. And there is an adjudication committee made up of learned people of the community, learned lawyers, justices of the peace, and so forth, who can sit, hear concerns, and bring resolution to these matters. And that enhances the speed of registration. The second process is a newly introduced process, and that is called the Systematic Registration of Titling process. In that process, the government declares certain parishes, certain areas as areas for systematic registration. And I believe we have indicated that there are 235 communities that have been declared as systematic adjudication areas in the parishes of St. Catherine, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth, and we have a further 11 land settlements across the parishes of Westmoreland, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, St. James, Hanover, and Trelawney, which have been declared. So in this process, the government makes a declaration which effectively says that all undeclared land will go through this process, community by community, of systematically registering your titles. The objective of the government is to do 20,000 titles out of that 350,000. We're going to do 20,000 on a test case, on a pilot case, to see how it works in 3 years. That 3 years ends next year, March. That is 2024, March. Already, with what we are doing here now, we are projecting that by the end of March this year, under the systematic registration process, we would have done 8,000 titles. 8,000 titles. And under the ad hoc process, we are about 2,000 plus titles. So we're not doing too badly. We are halfway there. But I have said to the Commissioner of Lands, step it up. Step it up. We need to move much with greater pace. Because 20,000 out of 350, we don't really dent the problem yet. But under this exercise, the NLA, Geoland, and other partners would have developed the skill, the wherewithal, the know-how, the knowledge base, and the efficiency to increase the process at scale to be able to take on these 350,000 titles. And hopefully, within a decade or so, we should be able to pare that number down to a negligible amount. So that is the objective. And there are some other actions that the government plans to take in this regard, which I will say some more of during my budget debate. But I'll give you some insight as to some of the other things we plan to do. One, we have to continue with the subsidy and support, because under these special programs, one of the obstacles we know that prevents you from coming forward is you don't have the money. It takes money to get your title registered. You have to find land surveyor and pay for the survey, right? And then you have to go pay a lawyer. And that can take time. So we do provide some grant, a subsidy, and credit in order to assist you through that process. So the government will continue to do this. I must commend the NHT, because the NHT put up the initial cash grant to assist the process. But I would like to use this opportunity to encourage the private sector, particularly the mortgage houses, the banks, because the more registered titles we have is the greater the market for mortgages. So we would want to encourage them to come on board and assist in getting the communities that have lands which are not registered, get them on board. So I make this appeal to our private sector, particularly our mortgage houses and banks. But another obstacle that we have encountered in the registration process is that we don't have enough land surveyors. The training process has to be broadened, and the certification process has to be expedited. And we are now looking at legislation to deal with both. But as I speak about the traditional and conventional process of land surveying, technology has advanced so far that drone technology, satellite technology, and other technologies work quite efficiently in geomapping and establishing cadastral maps, that we now must contemplate seriously amending the legislation to use the technology to speed up the titling process. So we will be making amendments to the Registration of Titles Act and to the Land Surveyors Act to ensure that the land surveying and the use of technology is not an obstacle to increasing the pace of registration of land. We're also looking at the issuance of an electronic title. So when Cherise pointed this out to me, I said, but Cherise, one of the things that Jamaicans like to see is the paper in their hand. You hear? They want to see the physical paper in their hand. Because when they lock up the title in the vault, in their mind, it's safe. Nobody can take away the land unless they get the title. Not knowing that what they have is called a duplicate title. And that whilst it is not a simple thing to defraud it, to interfere with the document in its legal form, we have had cases where we have seen that this has occurred. So, in our estimation, a digital title is going to be much more difficult to defraud. And of course, there are some lessons that we have learned, that we have to be very careful how fast we move with change. Because no matter how you are convinced of the advantage of change, if some people are at a point in their life where they feel that this change is not beneficial to me, then you can't really force them. So there are persons who would still want to hold their physical title in their hand. So it's going to be a process of change as we move into the digital age, that all these cultural practices that we have will over time change with the generations. So we are going to be introducing e-titles, but we understand the psychosocial and sociocultural issues around land ownership and how people view the document of the title. So it will be a process of education over time. So we are very serious about this business of the proper settlement of land in Jamaica. Now, I couldn't have you here, this wonderful audience, seated under this lovely tent in this very cool atmosphere in the cool hills of Manchester with the very friendly people of Manchester who understand the issues of the country and who are very well connected, and not make one of my extemporaneous lectures. I see the Custos is saying he will take notes. I started my presentation earlier by speaking to informality and the culture of informality and how informality reinforces poverty. But people who are in informal systems feel that informality gives them protection against a predatory state. They don't have to pay taxes, and they don't have to encounter the bureaucracy of the state. And so, for them, informality is justified. But is it really beneficial? For many Jamaicans, the answer is not immediately clear. For many Jamaicans, the perspective is that formal systems are costly to comply with, overly bureaucratic, time-consuming, and can oftentimes be unfair and disadvantageous to them. Governments have to recognize that, particularly governments in developing countries, that the systems are not always immediately fair. And where they are fair, the people who would have to abide by the rules of the system may not always understand them right away. And therefore, there is a process of change that has to be undertaken. And that process has to be carefully executed. Governments won't get it right all the time. But governments, when they make mistakes, must come out and acknowledge them and immediately correct them and commit to maintaining high standards. That's what governments must do, particularly when we are trying to bring the people along to enter into a formal system. Now, recently, we had a major incident in the country, which has somehow managed to capture and possibly even galvanize frustration and agitation in the country. But you know what is surprising? That inasmuch as there are complaints regarding what is, in my opinion, an unfortunate presentation of a clause in the new Road Traffic Act, there are still many Jamaicans, and I would dare say the silent majority, those people who form Middle Jamaica, the reasonable ground and conscience of the country, who appreciates and understand what this administration is trying to do in breaking the culture of informality, in reestablishing the rule of law and public order in our country. Still, that silent majority. They will not come out and say it. They will not endorse because they fear the backlash of those who may be uninformed or those who are vested in chaos and disorder. This government is the government for all people. Those who are misinformed, those who are vested in chaos and disorder, and those who want to see a Jamaica that is orderly, law-abiding, and peaceful. That is what this government is about. And we understand that we can't make change overnight. Where we are now took centuries, decades of breakdown in standards and rules and expectations. And we are not going to change that overnight. And I give you the perfect example of this. In 1999, I was then 2 years into Parliament. This provision, which has caused so much consternation in the public domain, and rightfully so, made it into our road traffic system. The provision that we must wear seatbelts and children must be restrained in public passenger cars. And it transitioned through various changes of the bill to the 2015 change in the Road Traffic Act. That provision, which requires that if you are in a public passenger motor car, a taxi, that the child should have a booster seat, which is interpreted as a car seat, but really what it means is a cushion that would elevate the child so that the seat belt harness does not become a danger to the child should the child be strapped in. Of course, there are those who want to take that provision and make it more than it is to say that the government is requiring every taxi to have a car seat, which is a very expensive proposition. Now, there is a practical side to the consideration. Can this really be enforced given the nature of our public transportation system, given the level of income that our taximen earn? Would it be fair to impose this on them? The answer is obviously no. But when it made it into the Act in 1999, what was the thinking then? Why put it in the law if you didn't intend to enforce it? There was a debate about public safety and about Jamaica adopting formal rules of safety. There were UN conventions to which we have signed on to. I was then a member of the opposition when it was put in. And when it came to the iteration that it is now, it was the previous government that maintained it in. Why? And we didn't object to it. And neither did the opposition now. Why? Because there is an aspiration. An aspiration. And even though we are poor, and even though we don't have the money for car seats, but as a people we must aspire. We must aspire towards the safety of our children. So the previous administration did not enforce it. But that leads to another dilemma. Why put something in the law if it is not going to be enforced? You know why? Because even with the various changes to the Road Traffic Act, our system of enforcement for traffic was not credible. We didn't have a credible traffic ticketing system. So many Jamaicans felt that, that is just the law on the books. But if I get a ticket, I don't have to go and pay it. It can stay there for how long? And then that has been reinforced by a culture of amnesty. So let the tickets pile up, and then the government will give an amnesty. And then the system of informality continues. The chaos continues. I don't want to be seen as the Prime Minister who is trying to stop people from eating our food. And there are those who will try to craft that narrative, pitting law and order against survival. That if we enforce the law, if we create order, then people won't survive. And that is in the minds of many Jamaicans. And that is not true. The hardships that we now experience is precisely because we do not have an even system of law and order where everyone can benefit from it. And what we must be debating now is how do we get this even, fair, transparent system of public order and the rule of law for everyone to benefit. That is what we must be debating. Because the disorder stems, my friends, disorder in how we settle our land and titling, disorder in how we identify ourselves. We don't have a proper system of national identification. So if you want to go to the bank, To open an account, you have to have 3 different identification because there is no system to verify identification. Disorder in almost all areas. If you look in our townships, there is no parking for taxi men. Vendors are on the streets. Pedestrians can't walk properly. Disorder. And people feel, well, I'm surviving in this disorder, but others are not. You have to ask yourself, will Jamaica continue like this for the next century? Or will we change it? You have come and seen it that way. Do you intend to leave it that way? No, I agree. We can't do everything one time. We can't bite off more than we can chew. And the pressures that people are under now, you can't ask them to take on more cost to be compliant with the law. So we acknowledge that. It was never the intention of the government for this provision to remain in the law. Minister Shaw indicated in Parliament that there are some areas that he will have to bring regulations to make changes to. And later on today, when I head back to Kingston, I'm expecting that he should be making either the announcement or the regulations to change this provision in the law regarding child restraints. Because we understand it is not practical. But it remains our aspiration. I encourage all parents, I encourage all public passenger transport users, look about the safety of yourself and your children when you use public passenger transport. Don't be ashamed to put on the seatbelt in the back of the car. And if your child is lucky enough to get a seat in the car and they get the middle seat, put on the lap belt on them. I encourage you to do it. We are not less than anyone else who are always putting on them seatbelt. So I thought I would use this attentive audience to say to you, Jamaica is entering a new dispensation of the enforcement of its laws. In the previous dispensation, you would never have this kerfuffle about the seatbelt for children because nobody believed it would be enforced. Now, everybody understands that the government is serious about enforcement. And the enforcement is not to punish people. The enforcement is not about greater revenues. No. The enforcement is about public order and public safety, meaning your safety. That's what it is about. So I urge Jamaicans, don't get caught up in some of the nonsense that is being said. Your country is changing right before your very eyes. But when you are in the midst of change, it can appear confusing, chaotic, and oftentimes imperceptible. But when the history is written and you look back at this era and you ask yourself, when did things change for traffic management and public order in Jamaica? The historians will have to point to this period in Jamaica's history. You were witnesses to it. What did you do while being a witness? God bless you and thank you.
Keep telling you it has nothing to do with my height. I am not short. I'm just altitudinally challenged. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister, for that very encouraging presentation. We are confident that more Jamaicans will stand to benefit from initiatives geared towards improving land and home ownership opportunities. Oh, before I forget, there's a very special presentation that some of the students from the Performing Arts group here at New Forest High School, they'd love to make a presentation to you, Mr. Prime Minister. Can we have the students? You might need some help in opening that. Or you're going to put it? Come forward. Bring it forward to the stand. Or would this one be more manageable since you can hold this?
All protocols observed. Most Honourable Prime Minister Sir Andrew Holness, it is my profound honor to present to you. It is my profound honor and my It is my profound honor and my extreme enthusiasm to hail the position to make a presentation to you, sir. As Miss Lou would say, I feel like my heart going burst. Mr. Holness, we are a little dot on the map of our beautiful island, Jamaica. So thank you for recognizing and remembering our community, and thank you for visiting our school today. So we will perpetuate the memories of this a very special day. On behalf of the principal, staff members, and the students of the New Forest High School, please accept this token as a symbol of our respect, love, and appreciation. So, Mr. Holness, once again, thank you, and we anticipate seeing you again soon.
Oh, that's so sweet.
They want to honorable.
I'm sure they're curious.
We have a pair of scissors if you need it. Now, this afternoon's proceedings have culminated to this point. Our 20 specially invited guests will now receive their registered certificates of title. Now, I am told that initially you get one of the canisters, one of those blue canisters, and it will be symbolically handed over. But don't get too excited now to fly it open to try and pull out the title, because there's no title in it. All right, and before you despair, the titles are here, but you're going to have to sign to receive them, right? But the presentation initially, don't be too jumpy, as we say in Jamaica. But the titles are here, no problems at all. Right, and so the names were not arranged in any particular order. You can listen out. And we're going to invite the Prime Minister to start off the presentations in this segment of the program with the first 5 titles. So as your name is called, you can come forward, and the Prime Minister will present you with the canister, which is that that paraphernalia that you're holding on the tray. All right, so first up, Mr. Prime Minister, if you could, as close to the front here as possible. Yes, I believe so. Photographers, on the stage, off the stage, on the stage. Right. All right, so our first recipient is Petroma Amoy Brown. Next up, Stasha Gay Thompson, who will be receiving on behalf of, looks like, is it Licia or Leisha? Licia Brown. So, Licia Brown on behalf of Stasha Gay Thompson. Dennis Harmer, you're next. Marvelly Iona Powell. And finally, to round out this group of first five recipients, Agri Noel Powell. Don't worry about it. The Prime Minister was perfectly positioned on the receiving end. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Our next presenter is Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Garfield Green, Custos Rotolorum for the parish of Manchester. And he will present the next 5 titles. First up, Albert MacLeish. Carla Venetia Moxham. That's a well-known name, especially in St. Elizabeth. Ione Agatha Harmer. Keisha K. Powell. And to round out the 5 This looks like Larry Francois Powell. Did we get the name right? We did. Thank you. Larry Francois Powell. Thank you very much, Custos. And now the Member of Parliament, former schoolmate, Mr. Robert Chin. First recipient, first of the five to be presented, Eldoris Elaine Williams Swaby. Next up, Dwight St. Patrick Neal. James Harry Harmer. Garth Samuels. No, Garth? Somebody coming? Continue. Okay, sorry. Let's go now to Cyril Melvin Smith. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Mr. Chin. And now, Cherise Walcott will assist us with the next set of presentations. First up, Shirley Emlia Williams. Suzette Natalie Adams Edwards. Phoenix Lee McGregor Goldburn. Dick Anthony Lewis. How are you? And finally, for now, Giovanni Anthony McPherson. Can we have a rousing round of applause for all our recipients? And thank you very much, Sharice Walcott. Gentlemen, we have some special presentations to be made now. And I think we're going to start with the Prime Minister. Presentation to be made to you. MP Chin. And Costas Green. You would have to do a selfie, Costas, if you wanted to capture yourself at the same time. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please join us in giving a rousing round of applause to our landowners. Big them up. The program certainly has revolutionized the land titling system in Jamaica and will make far-reaching changes in the lives of these residents. I'm certain that we can all agree that the presentation of these titles was as incredible to witness as the presentations in St. Catherine and St. Elizabeth for those who were in attendance. These residents put their trust in the Systematic Land Registration Program, and they were definitely not disappointed. At this time, we're going to invite Mrs. Hope Harnett, Senior Director, Business Services, to move the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. What a beautiful day. Prime Minister, ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to adopt the protocol that has already been established by our moderator. It gives me great pride in delivering the vote of thanks on behalf of the National Land Agency. The NLA would like to thank our Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, for being in attendance today and for delivering the keynote address. His strong and decisive leadership to nation building holds steadfast as the Systematic Land Registration Program continues to pivot in response to the needs of our citizens. The Systematic Land Registration Program is a high-quality national output that has been a game changer in the country's land titling process, as many Jamaicans have benefited and stand to benefit from acquiring a certificate of title for their land. NLA remains committed in applying all its resources on a daily basis in ensuring that the objectives of the program are achieved. We also are grateful for the guidance of our Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honourable C. Everell Warmington, whose presence today reminds us that we will always have his unstinted support. Also, thanks to the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honourable Floyd Green, for gracing us today. Residents of your constituency were the first to receive the titles under the Systematic Land Registration Program, and your presence here is yet another ceremony. It's a testimony to that NLA has your full support. NLA is appreciative of the support and presence of the Member of Parliament of Manchester Southern, Mr. Robert Chin. Mr. Chin, your remarks earlier is a testament of service above self, and that presentation of people you serve is top priority. NLA also is pleased to have us today, Custos of Manchester, Mr. Garfield Green, who is not Colonel, Manchester Lieutenant Colonel, the Honorable Garfield Green, who took time out to be here today to deliver remarks. Custos, your contributions to Manchester's community development are truly appreciated. Special thanks to Member of Parliament of Manchester Northwestern and representing the opposition, Mr. Michael Phillips. The National Land Agent is appreciative of your attendance and support of today's titling ceremony. Representing the Mayor of Mandeville is the Councillor of Alligator Pond, Mr. Dalton Brown. Thank you for being here today. Ms. Danielle Archer, Chairperson of Manchester Central, and the Northwestern Adjudication Committees, Ms. Shelley Ann Beckford Loudon, Chairman of the Manchester Southern Adjudication Committee, and Ms. Micheline Latour, Chairperson of the Manchester Northeastern Adjudication Committee. The NLA, thank you for your unwavering support to the agency and your continued work in the adjudication of land rights for the people of Manchester. Thanks and commendation are also extended to our dutiful CEO, Ms. Cherise Walcott, who has remained true to the commitment of the Systematic Land Registration Program. Ms. Walcott has, from day one, offered stellar leadership and guidance as we work towards ensuring that our citizens benefit from the efficient land titling system and guarantee security to tenure. To our title recipients, residents and of the declared systematic areas and the wider Manchester, the NLA thanks you for the support of the program and your commitment to nation building. The National Land Agency wishes to thank you for allowing us to continue into the communities and assisting you in becoming owners of a piece of land we love. Because of you, we can show others, both home and abroad, that systematic land registration program does work and it is here for your benefit. Special thanks to our public sector partner, National Housing Trust, who are here today to make their products and services available to our newly minted title recipients who have now registered certificates of title in hand. The NHT will be here throughout the day on standby to give their information on how you may access their services. Our private sector partner, GeoLand Titling Limited, bolstered the National Land Agency's efforts, and for this, we are grateful. GeoLand assisted the NLA in ensuring that the surveying of the parcels to create the cadastral maps for the program were completed, which aided in the process of us being here today to present persons with their registered certificates of titles. Special commendation to Superintendent of Police in charge of the Manchester Police Division, Shane McCullough. The NLA also gave big thanks to you and your officers who are committed to maintaining law and order as we continue to serve, protect, and reassure. We'd like to also acknowledge the presence of the General Manager of the UDC, Mr. Bobby Honnigan. Thank you for coming, sir. Extreme gratitude to the principal of the New Forest High School, Mr. Arnaldo Allen, who agreed to provide this venue for the hosting of this event and assisting with today's mobilization activities. Special thanks also to students, teachers, and staff of the New Forest High School. NLA appreciate your delivery of entertainment, which was fantastic, item of today's titling ceremony. We wish you all the best in your educational pursuits, and we at the NLA will continue to collaborate where possible. To our stakeholders and special invited guests, thank you for your attendance and your continued support of work of NLA. Today's ceremony would not have been a realization with the team from the Adjudication Services Division, led by Cherise Purchase, and to all the and to all the dedicated and hard-working team players of all the relevant divisions of the NLA. NLA extends gratitude to our media partner, Jamaica Information Service, JIS, for today's live stream, and to NCU Radio for today's live radio outside broadcast, and other members of the media who attended today's event. Special thanks to our decorators Blueprint Events for the seamless execution of today's ceremony, and to our caterers, Yum Bites Catering Service, who will provide lunch for us in a short while. In closing, I will leave you all with this quote. Success requires dedication, hard work, and unremitting devotion to the things we want to see happen. It is therefore clear that NLA's work that we are committed to seeing our people are given the opportunity to own a piece of Jamaica, the land of their birth. Through commitment and resolve, we stand steadfast in facilitating one agency, one goal, committed to serve you better. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
All that's left for us to do is to thank Mrs. Harnett for thanking everyone. Thank you very much. Except to say, on behalf of the National Land Agency, we'd like to thank all attendees for being present this morning into afternoon to share in this momentous occasion. This is a truly remarkable event for these persons, but also for Jamaica. The government, through the NLA, is committed to increasing land ownership prospects for citizens, as improving equity in this area will lead to the overall prosperity of the nation. To those who have joined us online via the NLAs and the JIS's YouTube and Facebook pages, the agency truly appreciates your support. And just some housekeeping matters now. First of all, the title recipients are being asked to remain under the tent for a photo opportunity with the Prime Minister and other officials. Our title distribution activity will continue, so it's not over. I mean, I'm closing out the section of the program I've been graciously invited to host, and I appreciate the continued vote of confidence from the team at the NLA. Thank you very much. And so the title distribution activity will continue after this ceremony here at New Forest High School for the other recipients who will receive their titles today. So it's like for some schools, they have morning shift and afternoon shift. So you have been on the morning shift. So the afternoon shift coming in shortly. So remember as well, NHT is here. Feel free to ask them all the questions and get all the answers you need on now that you have your title. More opportunities have just opened up. You've just opened up the box of opportunities. For those who are wondering, yes, my name is Dervan Malcolm, and I have been your moderator for the National Land Agency's Systematic Land Registration Program's inaugural, this titling ceremony here in Manchester. The National Land Agency, one goal, committed to serve you better. Thank you.